Hi, welcome to Spotlight, your story, their lifeline, a mother-to-mother podcast. I'm Mimi.
And I'm Dobra, and together we are your hosts. In this mother-to-mother podcast, you will meet women sharing their stories of struggle, triumph, and hope. Our aim is to ensure that no woman ever feels alone.
Through their brave storytelling, these women become lifelines for others on their own journeys. So join us as we dive into the incredible stories that inspire and empower.
Welcome to Spotlight, where your story becomes a lifeline.
Today's episode is sponsored by Marilia, personalized breastfeeding support. The lack of breastfeeding and infant feeding medical support abandons women. They are often left desperate and vulnerable to incorrect advice. Supporting parents to reach their feeding goals is something Marilia is extremely passionate about. She provides evidence-based solutions to breastfeeding challenges and helps parents bottle feed to do so in a way that is responsive and comfortable for their baby. So if you need the perfect breastfeeding support, you can contact Marilia by going to marilia.co.uk.
And this episode is also sponsored by Project Mesorah. As many of you may remember from previous episodes, I had the incredible privilege of joining their trip to Poland this past May, and it had such an impact on me. Being in a place that is just our history, it was just so humbling and empowering. From the moment you arrive, you feel like royalty. The service is exceptional and the food is endless, literally endless and delicious, with a personal chef preparing 5-star food just the whole day. And we had the one and only tour guide, Ari Schaaf. He was just so knowledgeable, you'll find yourself literally hanging on to every word. One of the most inspiring parts of the trip was being with Rebenson's younger Wolf, who shared all her personal stories about her family and her history, giving us such strength and clarity. And this November 16th to the 20th, they are going again with the amazing singer Bracha Jaffe. She'll be joining too. I can't put into words what it feels like to sing with women in these places where they try to wipe us out. And especially with everything that's going on now, the experience of singing together and declaring that we are still here, stronger than ever, is something that I'll never forget. So if you're considering taking a trip to Eastern Europe, Project Mesorah is the way to go. It's a journey you'll remember forever, especially now. It's an experience that will truly empower you. So for more information, call, text, WhatsApp 845-570-1943. And one more thing before we start this episode, if you can, please, just one favor, if you can, hit subscribe. By hitting subscribe, you are helping other women find our podcast, and that's our mission. And stick around till the end to hear our final takeaways of this episode. Honestly, this is the episode you will not forget. Get ready. Welcome to Spotlight. Today's episode is something truly special. It's a story of returning to our Jewish roots, a journey of teshuvah, which feels especially fitting for this time of year. It's also a story deeply intertwined with motherhood, or more accurately, the fight for motherhood. This is a story that's close to my heart and my family's heart, as Efrat is a cousin by marriage and someone who holds a very special place in our lives. As you listen to her journey, I think you'll understand why. So with that, I am thrilled to introduce today's guest, Efrat Barzel, or as her radio voice would say, Efrat Barzel.
Shalom.
Shalom, Efrat.
Shalom, shalom.
Efrat, tell our listeners who you are and what you do so they can get a little glimpse into your life, and then we will start with your journey.
Okay. So I'm talking from Israel, of course, and I'm doing lots of things connected to from communication. I have a TV show, a radio show. I wrote 5 books. A new one is going to go out really in 2 weeks in Elul. I have grandchildren, children, but let's talk about the real life. It didn't start like this, huh?
Right. Where did it all start, Efrat? Tell us.
So I grew up as a secular girl. In fact, my mother and my father are still liking to talk about themselves when they have to define themselves and say, we are mehadrin seculars. They are divorced. They are really big doers in the what we call here mechaat kaplan. You know, we're not being very beloved, the frum people in Israel now. And mommy and daddy are going to kaplan and talk and try to shout against the war and, lots of action in Israel. But it all started when my father, as a radio speaker himself, and also mommy, she was also a radio speaker. Daddy, in fact, is still the one to talk every hour to say the news. And
Efrat, just to interrupt you, Efrat, you do shows together with him as well. You being religious and he not quite understanding the religious.
Yeah. He's the one, like these people who say man invented God to be feeling nice and safe. They are really not people that they have any connection to mitzvot. They are very, very good people. And when we'll get on with our talk, lots of times I think about the motherhood or being a mother or talking about motherhood, writing a lot, educating all things that are connected to a Jewish home. I have all my ideas from them. And you have to be in kibud horim. But this is something that when I came a Balat Tshuva and I met the Frum society in Israel, I think that I was bringing from my childhood, from Herzliya, lots of things that are very important in a Jewish house that were a bit new here. I live in Bnei Brak. I talk in Jerusalem, in an ad, in all communities of Frum people, of Hasidic people.
How did a girl from Herzliya get to Bnei Brak? Where did that all start?
So let's go by the years. When I was 6 years old, Abba had to leave the radio here and be a shaliach aliyah in London, in England. Today they laugh or they might be crying and they say they made two big mistakes in their life. The first mistake, when we came to England, they put me, a secular girl, in a religious school. I was 6 years old, 7 years old, 7, 8, and they put me in a Jewish religious school. It wasn't Bet Yaakov, ken chas v'chalila. Nobody was really religious there, but we had to pray in the morning. Each one had a siddur. We had to wash our hands before we ate bread. And I came home, and whoever is a mother now starts to listen from this point. When I was coming home on Shabbos, when there was no school, and I was asking Ima and Abba, why is it that in our house there's no even one book named Siddur? Nothing with the silver letters saying Torah. Nothing. Do you have to pray or don't you have to pray? Why is it that in school we have to wash our hands? And here in our house, we just grab our pita, our bread, and just eat.
So it got very confusing.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll talk afterwards about people in their lives that, we are not perfect as parents. And we also cheat here and there. And we're not big tzaddiks, even if we're trying to be. And we're trying.
Efrat, can I come in here a second?
Yeah.
How did you... Just for our listeners, how did you end up in England?
So this is a very holy woman to blame, and it's the Savta of Moti, Mimile.
Yeah, my husband.
Yeah, Mimi's husband. Doda Medi, we called her, Auntie Rokach. She was the sister of my grandmother. My grandmother was also secular, very secular in Israel, but her sister, Dodda Medi was a child that was transferred in the Kindertransport to England. She was from these special stories of children that were saved because they went to live in a, how do you call it, in this Christians places in
Monastery?
Yeah, and her name is Chava. And there were 3 children that they were big. They came to Israel before Second World War started. But there were other children, like Moti's Savta Rokach, that were still small. And they were in a big problem when the war started. And somebody vanished them to England. After years, my Saba, the husband of Savta Chava, which until this day we don't really know because everything we look at is like he was working in the Mossad, you know. And he was also the Israeli consul in Amsterdam on the years afterwards. And he went twice to England to find her, to find Savta Rokach. And he did find her in one of these churches, and he brought her to Israel. It's a fascinating story. And, you know, we brought this special Savta that you'll understand how much she's special for me, for a Frum family I have today, a big family, because of one woman. But anyway, you can listen to her story in Yad Vashem, you know. She's talking all about her childhood. Anyway, we came to London after years. She married Saba Rokach, and they built a Jewish Frum family on 51 Highfield Gardens. And every Shabbos morning, my parents, me, and I then had only one brother. In fact, and I still have only one brother. We were invited to eat with the Rokach's family every Seudah Shniya, every Shabbat morning. And as a secular girl, a tourist in London, we lived a few years there, but I was looking on this Jewish family with their, nice Shabbos table. It's the famous crystal chandelier I'm talking about all day that was hanging from the ceiling. And the songs and the Divrei Torah, and they had 4 children. It was like, for me, how can a Jewish woman multiply herself 4 times? It's like, you have to be a lunatic. I grew up in a place that you have 2, 3 maximum children, and something was there in the air that you couldn't stand being, not understanding that there's something bigger than you, inside of you. Yeah, today I know to call it a Jewish neshama. But then, and my father was like, kicking me under the table before the Seudah was finished and saying to me, let's go to Brent Cross. Let's go to Regent's Park. Let's go to Hyde Park. Let's go to do fun Shabbos morning. You have time, you go to... And I was saying to him silently in his ear, no, Abba, no. I want to stay here. And he used to ask, what? You want to stay here? I mean, it's so boring here. Again with Shira Malot. Again with this salad and this carrot salad with the orange juice. What do you have to do here? And it was like, I didn't know to explain, Abba, what I feel inside, that, even today, while we are big, we are mothers, we are teenagers, we are savtas, but you don't always know to explain outside what you feel inside. And now is the point that I must say that my father and my mother, not now and not then, they were not connected to anything connected to being Jewish, really Jewish. Because, I'm going to make a spoiler here, but I won't spoil, don't worry. That 9 years ago, I went with Michal, your mother-in-law, and my husband, which we will be talking about soon, and myself, and we were already from. And I came to give a lecture. I think it was in a place called Seed in Edgware.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There was
That's right.
Wow.
a woman, a nice woman called Joanne.
Joanne Dove. That's right.
And after the lecture, we knocked the house. We knocked the door of the house because I have a thing in all my life, like closing circles with our insideness. You know what I mean? And I came from that house, a secular girl, and I'm knocking back. Lots of years afterwards, a frum woman with grandchildren and being a mommy that educates her children for Torah and mitzvot. And it all started in this house. So we knocked at the door. We didn't know who will open, but there was a mezuzah, Jewish. Mwah, yofi. And I'm sure she's listening now. I'm sure. Her name is Daniela. She opened the door. She is so sweet. And the only thing I wanted to see in the house is the crystal chandelier. Because it's not only a light, a physical light, it's something that was burning inside of my Jewish heart, wanting only Torah and mitzvot and building a Jewish house. And I was a little girl, because, every girl who's listening to us now, that's her dream. Being a mommy, having children, having nachat, having the laughter in the house, cooking for Shabbos. And Daniela let us in. And I was looking at the ceiling of the house, and all the lights were changed to modern ones, But I was walking to this room that was the Shabbos room, where we were eating all our seudot. And only there wasn't a table anymore. It was the room, that the children play. And on the ceiling there was still hanging the real original crystal chandelier. And Daniela saw me, like, I won't cry now, but I was so touchy there. And Daniela said to me, we're going to remodel the house, and I don't need this crystal chandelier. Do you want it? And of course I said yes. And David, Uncle Duve's ice cream. And they took the chandelier down the ceiling of 51 Highfield Gardens. And it was a long journey. My Abba paid all. It was quite expensive. And it's hanged now on our ceiling, on top of our Shabbos table here in Israel.
Oh, wow.
And I'm talking to the chandelier, and she's talking to me, and we are very good friends. She can see all crystal clear.
Wow. That's so beautiful how, it came a full circle. A little girl that's not religious, and then coming back as a firm lady and getting
The chandelier that inspired you.
Exactly.
I think that's really, really beautiful. So tell us, in between, I'm sure lots happened between going to the Rockach house as a little girl to coming back as a grandmother. Tell us a little bit in between. Tell us, getting married. When did you start the teshuvah process? And
Start of motherhood.
The start of motherhood, exactly.
Okay, so if I'm skipping, we came back to Israel, of course, back to my secular school, secular friends, nobody to talk with about Hashem, about Torah. I went to the army, I was an officer. And then I was nearly 20, which is quite young for a secular girl in Israel, I met Mickey. It's a very nice story how I met him, but let's leave that now.
No, I want to hear.
You want to hear? Wow. Yeah.
I want to hear.
It wasn't a shidduch, okay?
I can imagine not.
But the nice thing was that I have a friend called Hadar, and we are friends from the age that, like, something from 1 year old, we were friends. And my parents are divorced, and her parents are divorced, and her father was intending to marry a woman named Orna. Now, Orna invited Hadar and her two brother and sisters to eat in Rosh Hashanah, the second meal, Bet Tishrei, in the house of Orna. Now, get yourself in a secular reality in Israel. And she said to me, come with me to eat at Orna's house. And I wasn't religious, but we're skipping years. I was talking to Hashem all my life without having a siddur, because I didn't have. I was praying while I wasn't knowing exactly that this is what I'm doing. I was connected to Hashem in a very tight way. And I told Hadar, listen, I didn't know halachot, okay? But I told her, listen, it's Rosh Hashanah. I think you shouldn't drive. I think. And then she say, oh, you're such an old... I'll drive. Okay, I'll drive. Just come with me to this meal in Tel Aviv. And I said, okay, if you're driving, it's okay. But you also close the door of the car and open the door of the car, because the light is going on when you open the door. Like, I knew bits
so
of...
You kept Shabbos, or you were just being sensitive because it was Rosh Hashanah?
I was keeping Shabbos all these years my way. I'll give you an example. Like, I saw in Moti's Safta's house, I saw that they didn't cut toilet paper on Shabbos. So I didn't cut toilet papers on Shabbos. Like, I remember they didn't put on and off the light. So I didn't use electricity on Shabbos. I let anybody else to do it. Or I knew that...
That's amazing. So basically you kept what you knew. You kept what you saw and what you knew without...
Only by remembering, like a child remembers something. Or I remember that Rav Rokach, he didn't write on Shabbos. So I learned to all my exams here in Israel in Kita Yud Bet, when I was a teenager. On Shabbos, I was only reading what I have to learn to the exam and not writing. So like I didn't keep Shabbos, but I did. I think Hashem loved it, okay?
And Efrat, how are your parents? What was their reaction to this newfound religion that you started? How did they react to that? They must have seen.
Yeah, did they know that you were doing all this?
They didn't really know about everything. And each teenager in our lives, we hide things from our parents because we should be very close, but we should also hide. Because we are building our personality and we have things that are only private for us. So I didn't tell them everything, but they did know, for example, that on every page I write, I start with Be'ezrat Hashem on the right side of the page. So, and they did know that I'm asking lots of questions. I had the Saba, the husband of Savta Chava, the one I was telling you before, that brought Auntie Rokach to Israel from the church. And he was like a bit religious for himself, He went with a hat. He was working in Bar-Ilan University, which is a religious university in Israel. So they knew I was very much interested in what's being a Jew. What is this? I mean, I'm Israeli, okay, and I know I'm Jewish, okay, but I was like asking questions, but they didn't know everything. I was a spiritual girl, like I could cry from flowers, and I help handicapped people. I opened this place that I help poor people like my Savta Genya, that she was also a survivor from the Holocaust. Like I was very, very kind, but they didn't put it together with being afraid or something that I'm going to be religious one day. No.
And did you ever have thoughts of taking this further, or was this all you thought Judaism was?
I was sure, and you can laugh, I was sure that I'm going to be religious. I mean, there was not any other option. That is what's going to make my life very, very hard. Because when I met my husband, the morning of the wedding, I'll just finish the story from before.
Yeah, take us back to Rosh Hashanah, exactly.
We got to Tel Aviv, to the house of the Barzel's family, and the door opened. And Hadar, my friend, she didn't say I'm coming. Now, I didn't know that they are so polite, you know. It's not Britain here, but they were, you know, each person that was invited to this meal without being connected to Rosh Hashanah had a very posh plate, and of course knives and forks from each side, very fancy. And when I came in, so Hadar says to Orna, "This is my friend Efrat," and she says, "Nice to meet you." And then there was his sister Noah, and I said, "Hi, I'm Hadar's friend. My name is Efrat. Nice to meet you." And then was standing a little guy. And and I said, "Nice to meet you." He says his name is Mickey, and I said, "Nice to meet you. My name is Efrat. We are going to marry." But this I told him. I didn't tell him aloud. You know, I only said this in my heart. Now, don't ask me why.
That's exactly what I'm going to ask you.
Yeah,
Why?
Yeah, he was.
What made you feel like?
He wasn't like the tallest guy I knew. It wasn't my first guy I knew. He wasn't the richest guy I knew. Nothing. But if you say zivug mishamayim, and I didn't know at this step what he's going to do to my life in the years I'm going to tell you about in a few minutes. But I said in my heart, "Nice to meet you, my husband." And then I came in. I saw a long table. I saw a piano and a very known singer that you don't know in England, but in Israel, she's very known. It's called Hakol Over Habibi, Shlomit Aaron. They were singing songs on the piano, Rosh Hashanah, yeah? Shana Tova, Shana Ba'a, Ani. And then I had to sit down to eat with them. But nobody said I'm coming, so I didn't have nice Rosenthal plate. What do you do with yourself? And I have to marry this guy, but nobody knows about it. So
you're in a difficult predicament.
So what did I do? Now listen what I did. I went to the toilet, and I knew from no teacher, no Bet Yaakov, I knew that you don't talk to Hashem from the toilet. But I was shy that I'm going to ask Hashem for help. It's called tefillah, you know. So I was going out of the toilet after I washed my hands, and I was waiting a few minutes next to the towel there, you know, out of the toilet. And I was just talking to Hashem, and I said to him in these words, "Hashem, I think this is my husband." And I know from women listen to your podcast, so I won't give details about, I had no suffering from minimum boys, okay? I had lots of friends. We had a marvelous class, a marvelous time in the army, no problem. But I said to Hashem, I think this is my husband. So Hashem, listen, if he will be a good husband for me, let me sit somewhere in this long table next to him. Don't put me next to the singer on the piano, because I can't talk with my future husband from this long distance, put me close to him. And I was wiping my hands and I was coming back to the table. And a woman coming out of the kitchen, I didn't know it's the mother of all these three. She said, okay, take this paper plate. And she moved one of the plates from the Rosenthal plates, left, the other one right. And she put me a chair next to the one-time use plate. And I was sitting exactly in front of Mickey. And I was thinking, wow. Hashem, you heard my tefillah. And we got married a year before Orna and my Hadar's friend, father, his name is Yu, is South American, Yu, got married. But
Efrat, how did that meal go? Did you interact with him? Did he show interest?
Oh, do you want the real thing? So listen what I did. The Suda was finished, We went for a disco, okay? Girls, Israel. But I knew I have to marry him. So a few days later, I called Hadar and I told her, can you please give me the phone of Orna's house? And I said to myself, I'll just call. She didn't give me the number, okay? I think she didn't want to. So I said, okie dokie, what are you going to do with yourself that you have to get married and you don't even have a number? So I called 144, it's the Modi'in, information in Israel. And I said,
you really worked hard.
Yeah. I'm reminding you too that I'm a daughter of two journalists, right?
Investigators.
Yeah, exactly. I was calling 144 and I said, hi, can you please give me the number of Barzel family in 13 Edward Bernstein Street, Tel Aviv. And there's something in Israel that when she gives you the number, you don't have to write it. You can straightly call. You just press Kochavit, the star,
Yeah.
So I just called and a Philippine woman answered. I know who she is because she's going to be the babysitter of my children in a few years. And I said, hi, shalom, אפשר לדבר עם מיקי בבקשה? And she said, כן. And then he said, hello? And then I said, hi, Mickey. It's Efrat, the friend of Hadar that we came to eat with you in Rosh Hashanah. I just called you and I said to myself that if it won't be convenient, you will just close the phone. And then there was silent. And then he said, Mimi, you can ask him. He'll say the same thing from his side. And then he said in Hebrew, אז אני לא סוגר. So I'm not closing. And he didn't close. But if we're going...
And it was a good story from there.
And he was asking me all these months before the wedding, why do you read in the Tanakh all day? Because I didn't have any book of Parshanim, I had Tanakh.
Efrat, am I correct in saying that you basically asked your husband out?
Mama, I didn't hear you.
It went the other way with you. You basically asked your husband out.
Exactly.
Instead of him asking you.
Exactly. And Chazal says that women are the Ikar Habayit, right? Yeah. I think we are. We are.
Yeah.
But we have to know how you do it in a very honorable way in order of building a very beloved house. It's a power that we can only use as Jewish women in a very specific and בדרך מאוד מכובדת, you know what I mean? Because
honorable way?
In an honorable way, because it's not like if I was talking last week to a feminist a woman that interviewed me and she's not religious. I tried to explain. It's not what you think by using koach shel isha Yehudiya. It's not what you mean. It's another meaning that mothers can use, women can use when they want to build a Jewish house.
What was it about Mickey that you felt you're going to have a religious Jewish home? Because he wasn't religious.
No.
So what was it? And you said you want to be religious. So how did you know this is going to be the father of your children? So what made you feel that this is, going to be
the one?
The one, yeah.
He was so far from religion as he was eating, shrimps, calamari, escargot. He was driving his car on Yom Kippur. You don't have lots of Israelis that do that. But he says there's no Hashem, there's no Torah, so why should I bother?
So why? And yet you asked him out. So what was that pull?
I'll tell you. And when you ask me now this question, you make me think about it even deeper. There was something with the way I saw him talking, or even during this evening reading a story to the daughter of his sister Noah. There was something I felt. Now I'm trying to teach this new couples, but it was something very sensitive that made me feel that I can talk with him about all what is going on in my heart. Is this a good answer?
Yeah. You felt safe, maybe, and stable.
And today when you try to understand what makes a couple a successful couple, it's this point of building together each other, knowing that it's not going to be him that will give you all you thought he will give and what you need. It's not that. It's really not that. Zivug mishamayim, or what does this bat kol, Masechet Nida, they say, yotzet bat kol ve'omeret ploni leplonit. What does this bat kol says?
We'll be right back to this episode. Hi, I'm Danielle, a founder of Mother to Mother, an organization that supports and empowers women on their motherhood journey. We offer a wide range of services to make sure that every mother can thrive. From emotional support services to mother and baby groups, practical help, health information, a community kitchen, and much more. Mother to Mother builds communities of women to support each other. By tuning into our podcast, you have joined the Mother to Mother family today. Welcome and enjoy the episode.
She takes our neshama and she secretly says to our neshama, what are you going to go through building yourself with this husband, with this man? And his bat kol says the same to him. And the procedure of being together is building a step by step your personality, your heart. And if you can talk together and you're very different, because this is what we were. We're still very different.
So really it was unexplainable, but really it was just you felt a connection in your soul together. From you.
I think I felt a potential for a connection. Building a connection. A potential for building a connection. And he's my best friend now. Today.
I can attest to that. He's an amazing guy. I should probably say rabbi now. He's an amazing rabbi.
Yeah. He's much more fromm than I am.
So let's fast forward to when you got married, then as I understand, you were both not religious. You had your understanding, you had your own kind of Judaism, which you followed, and you had your connection to Hashem. He had complete the opposite. And then you got married, and did you want to then start a family straight away? How did that go for you?
Yes, I wanted babies very badly. I mean, from the age I was 12, I played with dollies until I was 16, like really late. Because being a mother, today I can explain it in a much more intelligent way. But being a mother, it was a big will, like every girl. But it was, I loved being there for someone, taking care of. And then we were both working in Yediot Achronot, which is a big newspaper in Israel, secular, of course. And we had a baby, Ben Barzel. But when he was 6 months, these 6 months that I was taking care of him, it was like understanding that somebody came out of my body and he's mine to take care of, and he's mine to be educated by me. And I all these months, I only wanted him to be Yeled Shel Torah, But there came 2 problems, because Mickey went more and more secular, and I was learning more and more Torah and understanding I must live Chayei Torah u'mitzvot. But another thing happened, that when he was 6 months, nobody really understood why when I gave birth to him, it was a very, very hard birth. It ended in a horrible cesarean when I was being slept and I was not there.
How old were you when you had him?
I was 22. And I was so sick. I was so sick in hospital. It was the 35th week. He wasn't really ready yet, but he was injuring my health so much, because it's a toxemia, Ra'elet Harayon, which was very severe. My body got crazy. It was a urine problem, and the kidneys were in problem, and the blood pressure, as I said, and there was no chance giving this pregnancy any more hour. And they tried to give a natural birth, but it didn't go. And then they took him out. And I was sleeping like days after that, because my body was in a big shock. And he was so tiny, because he wasn't really ready to get out. And I thought that while I was home and taking care of him, everything was fixed and I'm getting healthy again. Whoever suffered from severe toxemia,
preeclampsia,
your legs gets very, very fat. We call it in Israel raglei pil, elephant legs. You have batseket. How do you call it when you have water in all your
water retention?
Yeah, it doesn't get out. And I was so happy being a mummy, but I felt bad, and I was going to the doctor back and forth. And then when he was 6 months, they found this problem in my blood, that it's in Hebrew we say baya hematologit autoimmunic, an autoimmunic hematological problem that the toxemia made, or might have been even there before the pregnancy. But when you're young and nobody takes care, you don't know that your body hides all sorts of things. So they said, I'm getting quick forwards with the story, that I can't have any more children, because from like the 30th week of the pregnancy until the 35th week when he was taken out, something happened to the body with the severe high pressure in the blood, and the kidneys got injured. And they said, that's it. You have to say Toda Rabba, even for having one baby. And you have to thank to Hashem. It was my words, and that's it.
Efrat, how did that feel when you got told by the doctors that that's it, you can't have any more children? What was all your thoughts?
Take the saddest level of you being sad. You know, after Shiva October, I can't even imagine what people went through there. And I meet them and I listen to them. But for me, as a 22 and 6-month-old girl, it was like a tragedy, the end of the world, the most wicked thing that can happen to me, wanting a Jewish family, a crystal chandelier, 4 children around the table. It was like nothing made me happy. I couldn't understand that this is a gzera, you know? Gzera.
Efrat, you're connecting. You're saying the crystal chandelier and the 4 children. So I can hear that you're connecting your spirituality, your religiousness, Judaism to your feelings. Why is that? How did you connect? Did you feel that it was something to do with your Judaism? Did you blame God for this?
I was fighting myself inside of me, trying to understand. Why, Hashem? Why? I mean, this is too big for me. I'm young. I just got married. I want to build a family. Is Hashem good? Is he bad? What's going on here? And I kept on asking him, I want babies. I want babies. And then I went to a Torah lesson in Tel Aviv, where we were living.
What did Mickey say? How was his reaction?
He reacted like a man, you know. He says, Yalla, beseder.
Do you think that was connected to his secular upbringing as well?
No, when we got married, he told me, no connection to religion, that he wants 5 children. That's nice.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But today...
So he must have been disappointed in some way as well.
Yeah, but he didn't take it so badly inside like I did.
Did you feel very low? Like, how did you get through this difficult time?
I think I didn't really give it a deep thought about what I'm going to do, because I was busy with taking care of the baby. And I just like, you know, in Hebrew we say dissociatia. You know what's dissociatia? It's like
disassociation.
I don't want to think about it.
Disassociate yourself.
Yeah, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to. But I knew that this is something very bad being said on my future. I'm not stupid. I understood that. But I said, try to enjoy your baby now. Try not to go further on with your thoughts. Leave it. Kilo, I was trying to be happy. And I was very happy with this. He was hilarious. He was blue eyes, you know, blonde. He was so sweet. He was a good boy. And it was like a dream. So I tried to cooperate with this sadness and being normal and having fun as a young woman that has a baby now. Kilo, I was okay, but it was really tough knowing the circumstances of what this is going to bring to our family I wanted to build. Anyway, when I went to this Shiur Torah, there was a Rav talking in Dizengoff, and his name is Rav Uri Zohar. I'm sure you've heard about him.
Of course.
He was talking, he's a comedian that made tshuva lots and lots of years ago. And he was like the king of the Israeli culture. He was making cinema of, how will we say it in a polite way, not really tzanua, okay? And he came about tshuva, and he was giving Torah lessons, and he was talking great because he was a comedian, and he was putting divrei Torah it was so funny, and all the audience were laughing and laughing, and I was sitting aside in this shiur Torah, and I was crying and crying and crying because nothing could make me laugh. I knew that in 10, 9, 8, 7 hours, that was the day they are going to make me an operation in Israel, an operation that won't give me a chance to give birth to more children.
How was that for you? What was going through your mind then?
I was feeling like something is going to help me. Something good will going to happen. I was filled with hope, with something that I felt that is hugging me. And a woman from the people who took 20 shekels in the entrance of the hall, one woman, her name is Leah Alberstadt, that she and her husband were, she's from Stamford Hill, she has a British accent. And she came to me and she asked me, why are you crying while the lecture is so funny? Don't you understand Hebrew? And I was talking to her outside the door there, and I was saying to her, no, I understand Hebrew, but they're going to do this and that. And then she said, I want you to meet tomorrow morning a special woman. She said a Rebbitzin. And I didn't understand. I mean, I was talking about a medical problem and talking about this unbelievable big bomb that was on my head. And she's talking about a Rebbitzin. I mean, what's the connection? And she said, just come with me tomorrow morning. And at 10 o'clock, we met downstairs in Rashbam Street, and we knocked the door, and Rebbitzin Kanievsky opened the door. And it was like a minute that is going to change your life. I got in her room. She was waiting outside. And I told her I have 2 problems. Now, when you meet somebody, be thinking about what's going on inside yourself, because we have all sorts of friends and people we know, but we kind of change inside of us. Something happened to me with her in the room that the only thing I can do with myself, I was starting to cry and cry and cry, and I was feeling so deeply my neshama. And she said, take another tissue and tell me, why are you crying so much? And then I calmed down and I said to her, I have 2 problems. The first problem is that my husband is very, very secular. And the second problem is that I have this problem in my blood that doesn't let me have more children. And the only thing I want is a Jewish house with, and I was crying, and she said, wait a minute here. And she went to Reb Chaim Kanievsky's room. She left me alone with all these holy books there. And she came back with a tzepkale, in her hand, after a long minute, a white page. And she came back from Reb Chaim, and she says to me, according to your first problem about the husband, she asked me something about Mickey that I didn't want before when Dobra asked me the question, you remember, what was in him? She asked if on the Yemei Nida, she asked if I'm in Nida, האם הוא מכריח אותך להיות ביחד? Does he make you be with him together? And I said to her, no. And she went back with this little paper in her hand and she says, he's a big tzaddik. Now, if you think deeply about the question and about what she said a minute afterwards, you can understand what she asked or what Reb Chaim wanted to know, and what you can learn on anyone in your family, in your מערכות יחסים, in our places.
But Efrat, were you keeping that at the time?
Yes, I was keeping.
But he wasn't. Right?
Yeah. So if
But he was respecting that you wanted to keep it.
Yeah. This is the word. This is the word, Dobra. She asked if he's respecting me saying no. And he wasn't believing in Torah and halakha. And if a wife says something and he respects my body and my willings, that's a man that can listen to the heart of his woman and honor and respect to her body. So this is what she checked, and she said he's a big tzaddik, and then she added a sentence and she said, just do whatever he tells you to do. Now, this is a sentence that's for a woman like me then was very inconvenient to hear, because I was keeping Shabbos, I was eating kosher food, I was living a Jewish life, and he's not, and she's telling me to listen what he says to me to do. It doesn't make sense. But when you listen to Gdolei Israel, you go to ask something, listen to the answer. And I listened to what she said, although it was quite weird. And I said to her, Tov, ma im hashela hashniya, what with the second question? And she says to me, do you have a medical problem? And I was just taking all my files out of my little trolley that I took with me there to show her the medical condition. And she says, put it back. I don't need this public library here. Just put it back. And then she said, don't go to hospital now. You'll have a wonderful baby girl. When a Jewish woman has something that is very hard, or a nisayon kashe, Hashem opens in her personality a new petach, a new path, that he gets in through this path to her. Just read this and this Tehillim. And she says to me, I'm blessing you, this blessing. And she was talking 13 words in Hebrew. שתמצאי רופא, בשר ודם, כאן בארץ, שידע איך מתמודדים עם בעיה רפואית כזאת. She was blessing me to find a doctor here in Israel that will know how to deal with such a medical problem. And she didn't leave me only with the Tehillim and the Emunah. She was combining Shamayim va'aretz. And the next thing that happened, that I met through my mother's friend, כתבתנו לענייני צבא, כרמלה מנשה. She's also a speaker in the radio talking about the army. She gave mommy the phone of doctor, today a professor that is specialized in high-risk pregnancy. And I was just talking with Carmela, and the words of the Rebbetzin Kanevsky was in my mind. Find a doctor that is a human being here in Israel that will know. And that's it. And he tried on me and a group of other, I think it was 9 women. He tried on us all a medicine called Clexane, a French medicine, comes until this minute only by injections. And he gave me something to take in my mouth, like Cartia, aspirin. And he helped me to be pregnant another 10 times from then.
Wow.
The baby girl, she was born after 9 months. That's each morning I went to Professor Delitsky to have this injection in my stomach, in my belly. But every morning I went to Lederman. It was dark outside. I was meeting Rebbetzin Kanievsky in the Tefillah in Lederman's Bet Knesset, giving a kiss.
Yeah, just to give context to our listeners that don't know, Rebbetzin Kanievsky was a very righteous woman who was one of the leading women, one of the mothers of the Jewish people at this time, not so long ago. And she lived in Bnei Brak, and she had a shul that was right off her apartment building called the Lederman Shul. And they actually made a bridge that they could go from their apartment straight to the shul. Throngs of women would go to Rebbetzin Kanievsky, and throngs of men would go for blessings and chizuk, and this is where you would go every morning before the injections to the Lederman Shul.
I went so many times. I missed a day here or there, but I had to go to hospital every day, and it was on the way. But the blessing she gave me when I left there, and the koach she gave me as being a big mother for so many women. And the baby girl was born, and she was looking at me, at these first holy minutes that they look on us. And she didn't talk because she was so small, but with her brown big eyes, she was saying so much. She was saying, Ima, toda. Toda that you had emunat chachamim. Toda that you was mitpalelet leelokim. Toda that you asked so much. And I wanted to call her Hodaya, Chana, Esther, Shoshana, Rachel, Sarah, Bracha.
So beautiful. Yeah.
But my husband didn't agree for a religious name. Efrat, talking of Mickey, your husband, I can hear that this made such an impact on your life, and we'll talk about your baby girl. I'm gonna let you do the honors of saying, what her name is and why she is called that. But I wanted to ask you, what was Mickey's reaction to? He knew, I can presume that he knew you went to Rebbetzin Kanievsky and all these blessings, and the fact that the doctors told you can never have a child again, and you did have a child again. That is a medical miracle. So what was his view on this? What was his reaction? How did he feel towards this?
Yeah, I was going to ask, was he happy that you were running to Rebbetzin Kanievsky the whole time?
He didn't know that I'm going to her.
It was a secret.
He didn't know, because...
So when did you tell him?
It was just saying like a sentence here, a sentence there. I met this woman. I don't think Rebbetzin or...
Very, very delicately, you sort of let it seep in.
He was angry. The one time I did say about I'm going to have a blessing from some... He said... You're so primitive. I mean, you go to the best doctors in Israel. We went also to New York to hospital to ask there something, and he says, I'm taking you to the best doctors in the world, and you're going to do what a Rebbitzin Rabbanit, it was like he didn't know if to cry or to laugh, really, because he didn't like it.
So you're sitting in the hospital room and you've just had your gorgeous baby girl and she's looking at you, and a girl with so much blessings and really a miracle baby. What did you call her?
Wow. So this you can see the names of our children are very important for us. And each one has a story. But I wanted to call her something with a religious meaning, and he didn't want to. Because who's calling bracha in Tel Aviv and who's giving bamba and bagele to someone who's called bracha in Israel? So she didn't have a name like 3 weeks. And then I came back home from Shiur Torah. Rav Eber was teaching there something connected to Masechet Nida. He said to us, there are 3 companionships in order to have a baby. Masechet Nida says, 3 שותפים באדם, הקדוש ברוך הוא אבי ואמו. Abba, Ima, and Hashem. And then I came home. I put my baby without a name on the sofa without a name. And I said to my husband, let's call her Maya. And he says, what, Maya? You're finished with all your bracha and chana and sorrow things? I said, yes, let's call her Maya. Mem Aleph Yud K. And it was only me then knowing that Maya, Mem Aleph Yud K, are the 3 companionships. These are the initials of the 3 companionships who brought Maya here. Mem, Michael is the name of my husband, Miki. Aleph, Efrat, it's me, hello. And Maya is the name of the important one in each of us, and the only one, Hashem.
That's so beautiful.
This is Marilia that has to. She's a mother for 2 and nearly more children, and she's a wonderful mother. And
so, at this point, would you say that you were fully religious, or on the journey to becoming religious?
When Maya was born,
yeah.
No. There was a long procedure that will be happening the years that will be coming from now. And everything was very slow. And sometimes when I see from a side point of view, people that are getting very quickly balei tshuva and changing the world, I say to myself, oy, what a mistake. Because, to get a Baal Tshuva, you have to know how to do it, and you have to have a good hadracha, good rabbis there.
If you do it quickly,
because
do it quickly, then it's
a big failure and a big ogmat nefesh. It could be, it can suffer. And you can grow and grow. And it was very slowly, like it took years until he put a kippah. And then a tzitzit. And then he was starting to learn with Rav Eber every other Motzei Shabbat. And we started to listen to all these Torah lessons while he was like listening 5 minutes and going out, 2 minutes and going out. It was very, very slow.
I know that there is a huge journey where you were religious for many years, and you were quite religious, and Mickey was not. And really, I would love to go into depth more into the different stories, and we've so much to talk about, and I'd love to do a part 2. I'd love to bring you back on here, Efrat, and really go into the different stories and go into how you remained in a respectful marriage together with Mickey whilst he was anti-Haredi, anti-religious, and you were really growing in your Judaism. I'm really looking forward to exploring that with you, and I'm sure our listeners would love to hear more about that as well.
Yeah, how you handled it and how you managed it.
So I want to finish with a story that gets all this together. So my last child, it's so nice because Baruch Hashem, we have 5 boys, and then I had 2 big girls, but I wanted another baby girl. We were religious already because he made his steps, and we were living, I'm jumping with the time to Bnei Brak. We were living in Bnei Brak, and we had 7 children there, and I wanted a baby girl. And I was nagging Rebbetzin Kanievsky, I want a baby girl. And she was born, my little girl, that I'm not saying her name on purpose, because my husband was shouting, "It's a girl, as you wanted, it's a girl." And I said, "Yes." And then he said, "I'm not going to allow you to call her the name you were dreaming about, because we're religious and we are from, and you want a secular name, and it's every Kita Aleph is lots of girls named the name you wanted." And I was saying, no, I must have this name, because it's all the secrets of the women's heart in all the Jewish nation. And then we went to Rebbetzin Kanievsky when I felt better, and we came with this baby girl, and she knew us already because we were getting closer and closer by the years, and he felt there. After he got from very, very close to her, she was calling him Ha'ish Shaya Lo Gilui Eliyahu. You know, we can't put everything in one podcast, you know, but she knew how to talk with him, and she explained him that he saw Eliyahu Hanavi. It's a very big story. I'll tell you, Bezrat Hashem, Bli Neder.
Yeah.
What I said to Rebbetzin Kanievsky when we came with a new baby, our 8th baby, I didn't know that in a few days she won't be here anymore, Rebbetzin Kanievsky, to ask her any question. And we came with a baby.
This was right before she passed away.
Yeah, we came with a baby, and she said, Mazal Tov, Mazal Tov, and my husband says she wants to call her a name that it's not. How do you want to call her? And I said to her, wait, I have to explain before. You are the one that told me that when you go 3 steps back in Tfilat Shmona Esrei, you know, and you say to Hashem, Iyu leratzon imrei pi vehegyon libi lefanecha. You were the one to teach me that what is standing in front, lefanecha, in front Hashem, is libi, is the heart of a person. You told me what is inside Liban, the heart of Bnot Israel. You are the one that told me that everything that is happening to us in the world is because Rachmana liba bai. Hashem bai is wanting in the Aramit language. Rachmana is Hashem, liba is our heart, bai is wanting. And she said, how do you want to call her? And I said to her, I want to call her. And my husband starts to sing a very known Israeli song. Achoti aktana, ikimat bat shana, korim la libi, 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 libi. Libi in Hebrew is, of course, my heart. And she says to him, shh, give me the baby. Give me the baby. How do you want to call her? I said to her, I want to call her Libi, my heart, because from my heart comes all the tefillot. In our heart, we feel all these bad feelings, all these good feelings. And she says to him, you should call her Libi, because you know, the Stipler, my husband's father, had 3 children. That's it. The big one is Reb Chaim, my husband. The second one is called Yospa. And the Pitzkale that he loved so much, he called Libe, Ahova. Because Ahova in Hebrew is being loved. The need of being loved. And she says to him, if the stipler can call Libby, you can call Libby yourself. And then he says to her, Rebbetzin Kanievsky, she's also my girl. I don't want to call her Libby. And if my wife wants, okay. So how do you want her to call her? Rebbetzin Kanievsky asked him. And he said to her, I want to call her Rachel. Oh, she says to him, after Rachel Imenu? And he said, no. I want to call her, okay, Libby Rachel, after the wife of Rabbi Akiva. And he said to her while he was crying, there's a special sentence you all know that Rabbi Akiva is saying on his wife. You remember the sentence? He says in Hebrew, Sheli.
All my Torah is yours. All my Torah is yours.
Exactly. Sheli v'shelachem shelahu. So he was looking at me. I was after birth, after another cesarean, the fourth one from the 8. And he says to her, because all what is mine in being a religious Jew, a frum Bnei Brakish citizen, is from her. So I want to call her Libby Rachel. And that's her name until this minute. She's 14 years old now.
That's beautiful. We spoke about your book at the beginning of this episode. What's the book being called?
No, I'll tell you it this way, because sometimes we go to learn how to be a good mommy, okay? And then we go to learn how to be good in us being a couple, right? So all my books are not connected to one subject in our life. All the books I write about regashot, how do you say regashot? Feelings and senses, or
emotions,
things that happen inside our houses, but inside our thoughts and inside our hearts, while we take care of our children, while we argue with our husbands, while we feel conflicts. I know, I wanted to translate it to English, but I think I won't.
No.
I think I won't, because I consulted this woman one day and she says to me, it's the language of a Jewish heart. It's special Hebrew. You really can't translate it. Because it's talking about...
I understand this.
Yeah?
Because when, let's say when you write a song as well, when you try to write it in English, it's not the same. When you're writing in Hebrew, it's its own form of poetry. You can't necessarily get the same when you do it in another language.
You really can't translate it. It's about situations that happens while we think. It's about thoughts about our thoughts. It's about us putting our tefillot in front of Hashem and what's happening while we are praying inside of us, and how we have a bridge between something very deep in us connected to others. It's about us knowing more about ourselves by the meaning of being women that believe in Hashem and working Torah. These books. So the first book is called Kol Kach, that is so much in Hebrew. And the second book is called Mamash, that is in Hebrew really, 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 really. And the third book is called Achshav Ani Mitpalelet, I'm praying now. Now just think how many times a day you say this sentence in your house or in your mind. I'm going to pray now. Ani holech litpalel achshav. So this is Achshav Ani Mitpalelet. And the new one that is going to go out in a few days is two things. One is a book for 500 pages that is called Pashut. That is simple. In Hebrew, it's not only simple, touching your very deep feelings as a Jewish woman. Anyway, the book is coming out with a choveret. How do you say choveret? A notebook? Choveret, no. A workbook. An exercise book that is called in Hebrew, Rutzu lechabek et ha'iladim shelachem. That is a sentence I'm saying years after I finish every shidur, every cast, every program in my radio.
Lecture.
Go run and hug your kids. That is how I finish every talk of myself. And this is 41 ideas in 110 pages, because M in Hebrew is 41, right? Aleph is 1 and Mem is 40. 41 ideas how to get closer to your children. That they will
so
know
beautiful.
for sure they love you. They love you, not only you love them. Because being healthy children is not like everybody says, show him that you love him, smile, hug. A healthy child needs to know that mommy knows that he loves you.
How can people order your book?
On the website, and only if they come to Israel, and only if they get in shops that sell holy books, Torah books.
Well, Efrat, we're all coming to Israel very soon. It won't be long. So you better make many, 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 many copies.
Exactly.
And just look for flowers.
Oh, no. Thank you so much for coming. I won't even tell our listeners what time it is. It's this way. It's
and my
10 to
husband is
11.
me like thousands of times.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for giving us a piece of you, and I'm already excited for part 2. Well, that was the most amazing episode.
It was a brilliant episode.
You love her, right?
Yeah.
She's amazing. She's just so full of life. You don't even that was like a percentage of who she was.
Yeah.
I'm just like
she had loads more to say, loads more stories.
It's not even normal the amount of stories that she has. Her whole journey, just living with Mickey, him, I think it was for 7 years they lived together. He was not religious, anti-Haredi, anti-religious, and she was just becoming more observant and more observant under Rebbetzin Knievsky. So you can imagine the level of observance, right? And I mean, I used to go there for Shabbos when we were married and we were living in Israel. Then my husband and I and the kids, we used to go there quite a few times. We went, they lived in 2 different houses. We went to both of them. And I'm just thinking about their Shabbos table, yeah? They have, I'm not joking, yeah? A floor to ceiling picture of the Chofetz Chaim by their Shabbos table. There's no gossip there. And I'm like thinking, like, literally just Shabbos. You know how like we get dressed for Shabbos and we put on jewelry, Shabbos jewelry. Yeah. She dresses her table as well. So she has like 30 guests plus for Shabbos every meal. And she dresses her table with jewelry.
She has 30 plus guests.
Yeah, she has tons of guests. She has tons of guests. Wow. And her table is dressed for Shabbos. So there's necklaces and bracelets and pearls and diamonds, literally all over the table, because she's dressing the table for Shabbos as well. And I'm thinking about her candlesticks. Her candlesticks have the wax from the first time she lit candles. Like, she doesn't wipe away the wax. So her entire candles, all her candlesticks, and she's Kanani Hara got a lot of kids. And can you imagine how much wax and around the candlesticks? It's everywhere. Everything's white. She loves Kath Kinston and white. Everything's white. Anyway, she has crazy stories. Crazy stories.
I found it so interesting that her accent is also like, it has this Britishness in it still.
Right.
It's like
she
not left her.
Years, yeah, because that's the only English that she was sort of like but she's the most fascinating human being, honestly, on the planet. And I hope that we get to share more with our listeners, more about her and the unreal stories that happened to Mickey and herself, leading the respect that they have for each other, just going through the whole journey, and how they stayed together and loved each other, and how he became religious, and what, all the stories that he had, crazy stories she had. They were so close with the Kanievskis. It was unbelievable. Anyway, so yeah, that's a wrap.
Looking forward to part 2.
Yep. Thank you for listening to this episode on Spotlight. If you were affected by any of the challenges we have discussed, then please visit www.mtom.org.uk/podcast for guidance on where to find help.
Do you also have a story to share? Be in touch if you'd also like to be a lifeline for others by sharing and empowering women across the world.
podcasts@mtom.org.uk.